We are live. Live.
I'd like to call the Newburgh School District 29J Board meeting for February 14th, 2023.
We are live.
We are in session. Thank you very much for attending tonight. Our virtual order of business is always flag salute from Dr. Hart.
You're live.
We are. Stands. I'd like to thank everybody for attending tonight. I know it's Valentine's Day, so good for you, I think. So we will start with review the agenda really quick. We will have approval of minutes here in a moment. We'll have public forum. We'll have Dr. Phillips be reading the emails that were sent in. We have 3 speakers tonight. We always hope that each speaker can stay under 2 minutes and also again be positive as possible. Then we'll go over our consent agenda, which is new hires and resignations. After that, we'll have reports, presentations, and discussion items, board goals, parent bill of rights, and a financial report from Heather Bixby. After that, we'll have a board action item on our transportation. After that, we'll have board superintendent comments, and then we'll read the future agenda items. Our next meeting is a work session. And so at that time, again, we'll be working on pretty hard on board goals, and some other things are coming up. More presentations from principals, which is always exciting. Last meeting we had some really good ones from CV, Mountain View, and Catalyst. And it's always good to hear what the schools are doing from their leaders. So with that said, we reviewed that. I'd like to get a motion on approving minutes from the last meeting. Anybody would like to make a motion on that?
I'll move to approve the minutes as presented. I second that.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Again, when we're doing our public comments, we have a lot of people in the audience, so try to, let people speak, however they want to speak, not making comments from we don't make comments towards people speaking because it's their time to speak. And so it's not a debate time, it's time for somebody to share what they want to share. And as a board, we don't respond. It does seem a little awkward. I say this every time, but again, that's the way it's done in school board meetings. Let the people have a chance to speak and or be heard by email. So with that said, Dr. Phillips.
All right, thank you. I have 3 today. The first one is from Tracy and Richard Sutherland, board members and superintendent goals. The recent draft board goals, which have been shared with the community, noted the board's desire to focus on core educational subjects of reading, writing, and arithmetic. Well, I think I can gather your overall point of that particular goal. Those 3 core subjects cannot be your sole focus. It is just not enough, and our students deserve more. At Newburgh High School, the CTE, Career Technical Education courses, help students better understand the relevance and value of core academic courses and apply them to solve real-world problems. The 6 general career areas are agriculture, arts, business and management, health sciences, human resources, and industrial and engineering systems. Within each career area, there are several pathways that students can choose to direct towards more specific study goals. All of these courses easily fall under STEM education, which has understandably been an important focus for the past several years. Did you know students in CT programs have a higher than average high school graduation rate? CT students outperform their peers in reading and math at both the secondary and post-secondary level. High-risk students in CT programs are 8 to 10 times less likely to drop out of high school in the 11th or 12th grade. We have the opportunity in the coming school year to advocate for this highly STEM integrated coursework, promoting the new construction and programs available in these new building areas. To properly staff these classes and programs is paramount to making up the lost time that students have this past school year due to construction. For the 23-24 school year, I implore you to prioritize these conditions, which would bring NHS back to pre-COVID and pre-construction staffing and course offering for these CP programs. 1 ag science and technology, 1 ag mechanics teacher, and 1 ornamental horticulture teacher. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Tracy and Richard Sutherland. Next is from Don Paulson. Thank you so much, Newburgh School District and the school board, for the wonderful communication and transparency to explain and describe this survey we will be asked to participate in. It's thoughtful to let us parents know we will be receiving something like this. And it shows like you really want our participation with this kind of communication. It's one thing to get a survey in your inbox. It's another thing to understand we will be receiving it and to have an explanation as to the why behind it. Many thanks, Don Paul. And next from Steve Sherwood, Newburgh School Board. Thank you for providing an opportunity for public comment this month. I would like to comment briefly on 2 district concerns. The Newburgh Schools budget should prioritize the in-school education of students, not the legal entanglement of the board and individual board members. That days of student educational instruction have been cut to save money, while the district has budgeted $350,000, far beyond previous years, for legal fees is deeply problematic. That is a failure to put the children of Newburgh and their education before the board's preoccupation with national political issues and hot buttons. We do not need outside agendas driving our district at the educational expense of our children. Districts everywhere are struggling to fill positions. No district in our area or even anywhere in our state lost anything close to 30% of its teachers, 60% of our principals, and 90% of its district office staff in 1 year. The repeated mantras of all districts are having a hard time, and maybe those were just people who needed to go elsewhere to find happiness, are a disturbing life dismissal of the crisis of staffing in Newburgh. Families are moving out of Newburgh solely because of the crisis in Newburgh schools, and there is little evidence that this board is doing anything other than dismissing the crisis or blaming others. Please do your jobs or step down to allow others committing to the education of Newburgh children, and not the promoting of outside national agendas to take over the work of the district. Steve Sherwood, Newburgh resident, parent to NHS alum.
All right. Our first speaker up tonight is Judy Tokstad.
I'm going to try to read this from my phone. I would like to comment on accountability and policy. Mr. Phillips, you have publicly claimed that accountability is important to you, which is something we have in common. It's important to me. Accountability is taking ownership of what happens as a result of your decisions and actions. It is not blaming others or making excuses. After the lawsuit ruled in favor of the staff member who is standing up for her rights, you placed blame for the district expenses on the teacher. It was her fault we had this expenditure. Transparency around the financial loss and an apology to the teacher is taking accountability. The mass exodus of teachers and the massive loss of education take accountability for the hostile work environment you guys have created. Don't stand up publicly and said they needed to go. Find their happiness. Share some wisdom from my parents. Is actions speak louder than words. Take accountability. Accountability for policies past and policies future. Your policies are highly political, although you claim to be anything but political. Your current escapades involve parents' rights in education. It's a catchy name that we can all agree on, but very political, including their own path. If you would like to go to their website, you will see your very own ill-advised attorney bragging about his 17 years in politics. The information on this website includes accusations of grooming. I know our teachers love to be labeled as groomers. accusations of CRT being taught in our schools, and making every effort to make the LGBTQIA and BIPOC students go away. What is it that we say? All in, if you look and act just like us. Please take a look at what you're doing. Take accountability for the damage you have already done, and look at the decisions you are making in the future.
All right, thank you. Next up, we will hear from Billy Laird.
I am requesting a revision to the current dress code. 2 items. Currently, the dress code states no word referring to guns or displaying of guns. I think this is limiting and preventing the ability to wear patriotic and historical apparel. 2 examples I can give quickly. Grunt style apparel I'm wearing, and the kneeling soldier. Grunt style's logo has 4 different parts, each with a specific historical meaning. Excuse me. One of the parts displays cross muskets. These muskets are pivotal in winning the war of 1812, helped form our country's foundation, freedom and independence. The kneeling soldier, this depicts a soldier kneeling with a silhouette of a gun, with the butt of it resting on the ground at the grave of another soldier. With the current dress code, this wouldn't be allowed. The historical value in these depictions do not fall under the reasons behind having no displaying of guns verbiage in the dress code. These have historical, patriotic, and purpose in supporting our country, those who have fought, and those who are fighting for it. The second part of the dress code that I believe needs serious revisiting is that of our young ladies in modesty. I have seen when dropping off or picking up my 7th and 8th grade nephews and my high schoolers, young ladies wearing jeans that have rips in their backsides whose bums were noticeably there, along with front tears that show undergarments. However, the top half of these young ladies' attires I have seen as even more eye-catching and a distraction and a concern. Sports bras, tube tops showing plenty of midriff. I have seen a couple that are literally barely there while their breasts were barely covered. They have zip-up jackets that are zipped to the top of their jeans, then hanging open and off their shoulders. Middle school or high school, young men are definitely noticing and being distracted. My nephew and own sons have made comments. Most importantly, the way these young ladies portray themselves is disheartening and shows a lack of respect for themselves. Thank you for hearing a request for the dress code to be discussed, revisited, and reworded. And thank you all board members for all you're doing. My prayers are continuously with you.
Thank you, Billy. Next up, our last speaker is Brian Casey. Brian Casey.
Okay. So I guess the first thing I want to say is that I'm glad that the parents' resolution was put forward. I think, anybody arguing against it. It's just, I don't have words for that, but I think what a lot of people are actually arguing against is that they want the ability to have from kindergarten and first grade, the school and the teachers to be able to come in there and indoctrinate our kids with this toxic, just evil ideology. They want our kids to be confused and scared. They want to be able to come in there and say, you're a girl, but you might be a boy, and you might be a two-spirited penguin, if and they want these kids to be confused and scared because it's really easy to control kids when they're like that. And, I think that, putting forth, as a parent, I can tell you I have the only right to my kids. I have that, my right is, those kids are mine. The right is mine. And so, I don't know, it's amazing to me every time I come to these board meetings, I hear people leveling allegations, but they never provide a fact, they never have anything. There's never one fact, it's just a bunch of allegations that can never be supported by much. So anyway, I guess I'll kind of close on that, but I very much appreciate what you guys do. You guys, undergo a lot of nonsense, and I can tell you that our schools run better now than they have since I came back to town. There's accountability in school. These kids go to school and they actually just get to learn academics. They don't have this nonsense and everything else. I think that the lawsuits were mentioned. Well, when people file lawsuits, somebody has to defend themselves. So it's kind of ironic that they come back in here and say, well, look at all the costs when they filed a lawsuit. So anyway, appreciate what you guys do. I also, you guys I keep all of you in my prayers, so we appreciate it. So thanks, guys.
I just like to say, I mean, you get both sides, and that's why we do the public comments. It's sometimes you like things to, hear, but thank you for everybody standing up and speaking your heart. So from there, we move through our public speakers, and we go to our consent agenda. Pretty short tonight. Our new hires are. I always like to read these because these people put a lot of effort into getting their degrees and working. This is Elizabeth Michelson. You can be a teacher at Antonia Preparatory School, and we are going to accept her probationary teacher contract. So I'd like a motion.
I move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, board, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Carries 7-0. So welcome to Elizabeth. All right. Next one up is a short version. We're gonna have a few discussions on this tonight. We'll talk a lot more about board goals as we move into our work session next time. We're going to touch on it just for a few minutes tonight. Shelley had a few things. I'm gonna have Shelley, if you don't mind, there's a couple things to adjust on our and they're kind of more wording type things. So do you want to go ahead and do that?
Yeah, the first one is F, support extracurricular activities. I wanted to support extracurricular curricular activities such as sports, and I wanted to add fine arts and performing arts instead of just arts. So I think that better defines it. And then also thank you to Tracy and Richard Sutherland. You wrote a very good email. You brought up some good points about including the career technical education and vocational training within our goals. And so I'd like to add H, support career technical education and vocational training, support CTE programs to help students in acquiring technical skills, professional practices, and academic knowledge critical for career success in high wage, in demand careers.
All right, thanks, Shelley. Board, any comments on that?
I support adding that. I do have a question for Director Kolb. Do we, the other goals, we had some metrics established to help us measure how we were doing on those. Do we have any metrics in mind for the CTE program goal?
Not any firm metrics, but we would like to have some. We've talked about some, but nothing as of yet, and we need to get some of those.
And then, Mr. Chair, are we looking at adopting these goals tonight? It sounds like you want to, we saw them last meeting, and it sounds like you want us to talk about them again next week. Is it, or next meeting? Is it your intention that we'll adopt them at the next board meeting?
Tonight was more of a, if there's anything in there that you guys have been looking at, as we got the packets to, like what Shelley did, there was a few changes like that. And we'll deep dive into that at the next board meeting. We'll spend, quite a bit of time on this at the next board meeting, probably at least half hour. So like what Shelley did tonight is something that everybody can look at. If there's some adjustments in there, remember again, the board goals, it's mid-year. So with Dr. Phillips, we've talked about it at length. There's always these goals, it's pretty fluid.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just say that no, I'd be fine adopting these tonight if there's no procedural hurdle to that. I think the goals are good. I think most people would support them. And frankly, I hate the speed at which government moves. So I'd love us to move a little faster if we can, where we can.
That is true. I guess I'd kind of like to dive into this a little deeper at the next board meeting for me personally. I mean, I'd like to talk about some of these a little bit more at length and get Dr. Phillips's feedback too at that time. Because some of these are, going to overlap with what, he and Scott have already Heather put together.
That's fine with me.
So there could be some
And to add
adjustments.
to that, and also allow the public to further comment and us receive that feedback and bring that to the discussion next time. So.
Good point. Thank you. So Shelley, anything else there?
No.
No more comments, board? Brian, that's good stuff. I think
let's just go into a little deeper next time. That way we can get these guys on the Mountain Dew hot seat and talk about those a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I just don't like delaying for the sake of delaying. So
Government being quicker. I don't know if that's, okay, all right. Number 8 there, or the next one, part of one. This one's, again, this will be one we dive into next time a little bit more. The Parents' Bill of Rights. Dr. Phillips, you mind speaking to your idea? Because I think it was a really good point about being able to get out to the public for, a bunch of input on this.
Yeah. So I think if it's truly going to be a parent's bill of rights, then I would suggest asking some parents if they wanted to come in and give input on the, whatever you have in mind. Because 7 board members, some of you still have kids at home, some of you don't. I think we could get some good input from the public on that. And so maybe open them in and have a little bit of a process of listening to them and what they want or don't want in it, and maybe go from there.
do you have any specific thoughts on how about to go about getting that feedback?
Yeah, I mean, we could always through social media or we could even send out a mass email and say, if you're interested, please reply to this email, or please, we could create a new email address, maybe parentbillofrights@newburgh.
Sure.
And please reply to this email if you're interested in participating. And then we go from there. And if we get none, well, that's fairly easy. If we get a lot, then we'll have to figure out maybe how do we downsize it if we do. And, so I think the process that we end up with would maybe depend on how many takers we get that
Sure.
want to be involved.
Yeah, I like that email. I think that'd be really good.
What about having a committee go through the suggestions, because there's going to be some overlap with what's already in place that Oregon provides and that we have here. And so we need to structure it a little bit more, and maybe we can have people come to that, or any thoughts on a committee?
I'm sorry, do we have a draft of this already? My understanding is that we don't have
No,
anything yet.
no.
So I want that to be clear, that there's, as of yet, there's not a draft of this.
There is not a draft of this, no. And I'm not interested in coming in here with a draft and throwing it down the table and saying, let's vote on this. I want us to, it would be nice if we could use this exercise as a way to come together. Maybe there are things that we can agree on. I think folks on the right and the left, neither of them wants to feel trespassed on or, infringed upon by their local government school. And I feel like we can come to agreement on things, and let's use this process to do that. Maybe we can find some common ground here. I'm not interested also in inventing any new rights, right? Like, rights are not derived from government. Rights are given to us by our creator. And so this exercise isn't creating anything new. This is simply acknowledging what is naturally the right of parents by deign of them being parents. And so that is what I'm interested in doing. I'm absolutely in favor of setting up an email to collect community feedback. And I do think maybe a drafting committee of 3 members would be a good idea to sort through the comments and the feedback and, compile that into something that is comprehensible for the board. And so I think that would be my suggestion.
I think it's a great idea I'll sign under that. I just want, it should be a simple document. It should not be a book. It should be a page, a 1-pager. That's what I would envision for this. It should not be a very difficult document. It should not be difficult for the public to read and grasp, and that's what I would like to see this heading this. And I think that all of these ideas and the community coming together with the things that we all agree on, and not make this controversial. It should not be controversial for us to give the rights of the children to the parents. So
I agree. Okay, go.
So I guess just for my own edification, what does this look like? Is this a resolution or is this something that parents can sign on to support or?
Well, I don't know.
It's just-
Personally, I would be fine if we put it in policy, honestly. I'd be fine having that in our policy. I think, it's been pointed out online. I know that we already acknowledge some parental rights in our policies, but they're spread across multiple policies, and good luck finding a parent who knows how to navigate our policies. They're very confusing. If you haven't done it, I suggest you do, and then you'll immediately stop and realize what I'm saying. And so, one of the advantages of this, even if we already in our policies acknowledge all of these rights, one of the advantages would be to put them in a centralized, concise place where everyone can see them. Our teachers can see them, our parents can see them, and we know what rights we acknowledge as a school district belong to the parents. And I think there's a lot of utility in that, even if we already have covered all of these things in our policies. But I would be fine putting in policy. I think, you do that, it gives it greater weight. A resolution would not have the same degree of weight. So my preference, barring some legal concerns from the lawyers, and that's certainly a possibility, right, would be to have it in policy.
So it sounds like we need to refer this to policy committee then?
We could do that. We could refer it to the policy committee.
So getting out there and getting this information back though from the public though right away starts getting us a leg up on this and getting the input from the public and finding out, let's say 100 things come through. Obviously, we're not going to have 100 things. It's going to be on a single document. So then I could go to the policy committee to start narrowing that down. Like you said, look at the different ones that are overlapping. So recall, I think you're gonna add something. No, you're good, Shelley. What do you think about that, sir? We're
Yes.
good? Work for you?
Yep.
Okay, well, that's our the two talk about. We'll definitely get into those deeper a little bit though at the work session, and then we'll try to get that email out right away so we can get some feedback, see what we're getting from people, and see what kind of information the public, and the parents, always been why I'm doing this job is for the parents, to get the best they can for their kids. So I want to hear from the parents, see what they have to say. Next up is our financial report from Heather Bixby, who is ready to go, right, Heather?
I don't have my own mic tonight, so yes, I am ready. So I included in your board packet is your financial report. It shows where we're at revenue wise and where we're at expenditure wise. Keep in mind expenditures include payroll all the way through the end of the year. So that's something that we encumber at the beginning of the year and move from encumbrance to expense throughout the year. So I don't have any concerns with where we're at in the current budget. But a lot of our spending right now is happening in bond expenses and payroll. So
I have a question. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
So we're looking at the expenditures, 1,000 instruction.
Uh-huh.
And you said that this is already accounting for the entire year, and we are at 118%, 0.58. Now, if we look at, so I want to try to understand this number. So if we are paid up to the end of the year and we had budgeted for 100% and we are spending over 18%, does that mean that we have more cost with instruction because we increased headcount, or is it because something different? Can you
Okay.
explain that to me?
So the first thing I want to point out is that you're looking at a special revenue fund. So this is the 252 fund, which is the Measure 98 or high school success.
Okay,
And so the reason that we're seeing that number higher than as a total over 100% for expenditures for the year is a couple of different factors. One of them, we have, I believe there is a vacant position that was budgeted for that for that fund, that expenditure is still there, but when we run payroll, then the encumbrance is released. So we budget for that position all year long. In case we fill that position, we have it accounted for. If we don't ever fill that position, then it never comes to fruition, and we see that expenditure percentage drop as the months go on. So the other reason for this is because there, in Measure 98, there is always a carryover budget where the state will give us some additional time to spend grant money from the previous year. And that money was not budgeted for in the current budget. So there was some money left from last year's Measure 98 that we spent in this year. And in order to eat up some of those expenditures so that we didn't lose that money from the grant, we allocated some additional to payroll to help offset some of those expenditures.
Okay, so the right number for instruction then, if I'm talking about what we budgeted for teachers is actually general fund, line 1,000, instruction, we are at 92.48%.
Correct.
Okay,
Just in general fund expenditures.
got it.
So it doesn't include any of the federal title funds. It doesn't include SIA expenditures. It's only the things that we're using tax dollars and state school fund money to support.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Heather, I have a question regarding our legal fund.
Okay.
There's been some general confusion from comments that I hear and also even in the press. I believe last year we were the prior finance manager budgeted 350,000. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And we used only 100,000 of that to defend ourselves. That's correct? Or
Yes.
Let me take, okay, so people, what came out was that we've used almost all of that and we're being proactive with it. So that's not correct.
Right. So there is a legal fund in the general fund to help cover legal expenses. But it's important to note that that covers much more than just legal expenses with personnel. So there's legal expenses in the district from numerous different things, all the way from injuries to employees or bystanders. It's not all just political. And then there's also, if any of you are familiar with how the system works, sometimes it is much cheaper to settle suits or wrongful terminations, any number of claim that somebody could have against the district. A lot of times it would be cheaper for the insurance company to settle than it would be for them to continue to fight something. And so part of that $350,000 also includes some anticipated settlements. And as of right now, we have not, we've not even spent a third of it.
Great. And just to reiterate, that money is not there for us to take and go on our own whims in terms of our own lawsuits. It's there to defend us. And that's the way we've been using it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I did not see this line item here in the general fund for expense. We have instruction, support services, enterprise, community services, other uses, contingencies, and an appropriate ending balance.
Are you talking about the legal expenses?
Yeah,
It's part of your support services. So
Got
when you're doing a budget, it's all part.
Okay.
So under support services, we have the school board. Within the school board's budget, there is money that is set aside for legal issues.
okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
Heather,
So-
my question is just real quick on the bond. Do you have any, I know Larry's going to speak to that next board meeting, but any ideas where we're at?
I think we're right on track. I had asked last week for a current or an updated expenditure timeline cash flow for the bond. And I haven't received that updated one, but everything that I've heard and everything that I've approved for payment, everything looks like it's right on track. I think we're in a really good position right now with the bond projects. Things are moving very smoothly. Cornerstone is doing a phenomenal job managing those funds and managing the construction. in progress. So I think it's going really smooth.
Awesome. Thank you.
So the only other thing that I would like to touch on tonight is the release of the governor's projected budget for next year. Because I'm sure that that's weighing heavy on everybody's mind is, are we going to get enough? And the governor came out with a proposed budget of $9.9 billion. And we review what the governor's proposed budget is to see where that leaves us, if it's going to be enough money, if it's not going to be enough money. And I'm happy to say that at 9.9, Newburgh is in a good place to not have to do any kind of reduction in force, cut programs, cut systems. We're really working to be very fiscally conservative, but to do a very thorough job of maintaining our current service level, if not even adding, some of the things back that have been taken away. We talk about ESSER money, how it's ending in 2024. And so it's a good time for us, even though the governor's proposed budget is 9.9. There is this possibility we might get more than that, because the governor's proposed budget is kind of like my proposed budget. I present it to you and you say, no, that's not going to work for us, or yeah, that works great. And then there's changes that happen prior to adoption. So the final numbers won't come out until end of May, end of June. But the likelihood of us ending at 9.9 is pretty minimal. I think that's probably our minimum that we would get, which is a huge benefit for us, because there have been things that we've used ESSER funds to pay for in the past that should have remained general fund expenditures. And so this will leave us some ability to move those things back into the general fund without cutting positions, things like purchasing curriculum. I think that's probably the biggest one. But prior administration had moved curriculum out of the general fund and put it into ESSER. And with ESSER funds running out and all of that happened to be spent, there's still curriculum to be adopted. So we need to work to get that back into our budget. And I think this is a really good thing for Newburgh right now, because we can move some of that back into our budget and not have to do that at the expense of staffing.
Scott, you had mentioned that the goal for the budget from the governor was like 10.3. Is that the number that you had talked last time?
No, that was from actually Heather's group, OASBO, or the business managers throughout the state of Oregon. They were saying that we needed to hit the $10.3 billion mark. But based off of our expenditures and revenue, that Heather's reporting that 9.9 is going to be able to maintain program and services at the current level.
So if we end up in this tug war that they have, it goes up to 10.3, we're going to be even in a better position. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Heather?
The other thing I will throw out there is that if you, a roundabout number, if you want to know how much if the state school fund increases by how much money, what does it do for Newburgh School District? So if we're at 9.9 and the budget goes up to 10, it only makes a $330,000 difference to our budget. Okay, so about every 100 million, you're going to add $330,000. So it takes $3 million to add $1 million to our budget.
And that $330,000, what is the cost? How many full-time teachers does that'd be 3 teachers?
Maybe. Depends on
2.2.
how long they've been here.
Okay,
Because if they're in the longevity and they're at the bottom of the salary schedule and they have insurance and they have PERS, you could easily be 150,000 for each.
but if
employee.
they're new teachers,
They're new teachers, you will get 3 out of it.
okay, thank you.
Any more questions for Heather? Just so you know, in the audience, Heather's done a great job with a tough situation and a budget, and she has done outstanding. So Heather, thank you. We appreciate that. but you don't get to leave. You got to keep going. Because you've got, number 8 is board action items, and that is transportation. So you're still going.
Okay, so as many of you are aware, the contract with STA was revised to terminate June 30th of this year, which meant we needed to go out to bid for transportation again, much like they did last year. And so we put out an RFP the end of December. We closed that RFP the end of January. We received 4 responses. 2 of them were a no participation response, which is still important to us because it means that we tried hard to get 3 competitive bids. We did actually get 2 competitive bids. We got one from Mid-Columbia Bus Company and one from First Student. In your packet, we kind of put together a little spreadsheet of what their contract means in terms of dollars. So when you look at an RFP, sometimes you think you're looking apples to apples, but you might actually have some oranges and some bananas. And so we tried to combine them so that we could paint you a picture of what it actually looks like to have the same service from both places. So we took what they had in their proposals, came up with the cost analysis, and First Student was significantly cheaper over the long haul. We had a committee and we invited a community member, Mr. Moxley, to participate in that with us and provide us some feedback as a community member, and also be involved in the interview process to ask questions of the transportation companies. And so I really appreciate his time in participating in that. And so we had a score sheet that was presented with our RFP so that every bidder knew exactly how we were going to score them. And in your packet is those score results. So First Student, average final score was 103. Mid-Columbia Bus Company was 85. So it is the committee's recommendation that the board would approve us moving forward with a contract to First Student for the next 5 years of bus service.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Newburgh School District Board of Directors approve the 5-year contract with First Student Transportation as presented.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 7-0. Heather, thanks for all your work on that.
Hey, Chair.
That this, oh, Director Hart, go ahead.
I just wanted to, I guess just talk to this whole process because we didn't have this process the last time we did this and it was eye-opening. And thank you, Heather, for herding the cats, if you will, and getting us all together and really taking an in-depth look at what all goes in to selecting a transportation company. So I hope moving forward, if we have to do this again, hopefully not for 5 years, will we have to review contracts. But this certainly is how things should be done. It should be a cross-functional group of people coming together to take a look at something very serious because these proposals that the company submitted were over 200 pages long. So there was a lot of information to look at, a lot of compare and contrast to come up with, the final scoring and stuff that each individual did. So I was impressed in the whole process and I wish that was what was done the last time we had to do this. But thank you.
Thanks, Director Hart. At this time, I'd like to have the leadership, Justin, Bobby, please come up and First Student. Hey, Justin, how you doing?
Sir.
Hey, Bobby. You guys got the mic so you can sing or whatever you want to do. Go ahead.
Chair, Board of Directors, Dr. Phillips, Scott, and Heather, thank you so much for allowing us this opportunity. It's really a surreal moment for all of us. It's been one heck of an emotional roller coaster over the last year from leaving Newburgh community and now becoming back in the community. We're super excited to be here. Director Hart, I can promise you that we will not be going back through this again in 5 years. We're hoping that we will extend, but we will have improvement over this year's service. We promised Vinci she would come up here with me, but I don't think we have enough issues to pass around for her to come up here, but it has been very emotional. And I have our wonderful bus drivers in the back with us that are here celebrating this moment, and they're glad to be back.
Justin, I just want to let everybody know, you and I had a conversation with Dr. Phillips and Bobby, a couple months ago, and it started the process back. But, I think sometimes as government, like Brian was saying earlier, we tend to slip, and we look at each other that day and we talked about doing everything right by our employees, by all the little things for the students and parents and everything that day. And I'm glad it's getting to this point now where I think sometimes we have to go through a tough time to get back to a great time. And so I know we're going to do great. You're going to do great. So thanks, you guys.
I think to your point, this brings up a great opportunity to have fresh beginnings and a restart for everybody, with the parents, the students, and
Thanks a lot, you guys. Appreciate it. Just so everybody in the audience knows, spent a lot of times on buses. It's one of the toughest jobs in the district to be a driver. I think, the whole process is a tough process. It's very, very busy. We're putting all those kids on buses all the time, picking them up certain times. It really is a lot harder than the average person would give it out to be. And then after school, they sign up for bus trips for crazy people out there and coaches and all the players and stuff, and they don't get home till late at night. And so as a person who's been on those buses a lot, I appreciate them a ton. And they're critical to the success of our public schools. And so if you ever get a chance to say thank you to a bus driver, I waved at one today. It was kind of funny. He honked his horn back at me. So it was fun. We're almost done. We're going to try to wrap this up pretty quick. So keep your comments short tonight, except for Dr. Phillips. You can talk all you want. So our last thing really is board and superintendent comments. I'm going to go backwards this time a little bit. So Brian usually has to go first. I just say we did some staff interviews and parent interviews. I thought it was a blast. It wasn't always easy to hear. I think the best thing though is we have a lot of staff who they just want to be teachers and educational assistants and do their job. And they really are looking for us to do everything we can to possibly make their job as simple as possible. Probably the number one thing I heard was discipline. They want better discipline in the schools. I think we all know that. We see it in a lot of different spots, and it frustrates staff to no end. So that's something that the board will have to work really hard at with our district staff and their administrators. It's tough on everybody. I think my personal opinion, all the time I spent with kids, is when a kid acts out there begging for somebody to love them enough to do something about it. And I think not doing anything about it is just exactly the wrong thing to do. You have to step up and take that teachable moment. My second thing was just meeting several parents, getting to go to schools. We have so many great parents out there. They just want to get back to normal. They're tired of the griping and the bitching and the complaining. They just want to get back to school. Sorry, bad word there. And then I got to go to several NHS games, got to see Moya play again. It was tough to lose to Mac the other night. Don't like to lose to Mac, but our coaches are doing a great job. Coach Brett Vernon on the boys, Coach Luke Lindell on the girls. All the kids are playing hard, and it was fun to be out the games. Dr. Phillips and I got to sit there and watch the girls lose to McMinnville. Not easy. I don't like those red uniforms, but anyway, that's my comments for tonight. Brian, you're up next.
I don't have a ton. I feel like I've talked enough tonight, but I do want to give a shout out to our audience who showed up on Valentine's Day. I'm sure this is the most romantic Valentine's Day of your life. But especially to those of you who showed up to support parents' rights and education, you have my sincerest thanks.
Director Riley.
There. Well, you're talking about that red and black. I have the distinct displeasure to tell you that my son will be coaching there this year.
I asked his son to come and coach with me at Newburgh a few years back and he said, I can't. And I was like, oh, the dark side. Director Perugino, you're up.
I just want to touch on the parent interviews that we participated. Thank the district for setting that up. I had a really lovely time with this mom, and we talked about building bridges together and crossing it, and kind of not looking at the water that's going under it, and just building bridges together to better the district for everyone. And thank you for the opportunity for that conversation. I think it was very important.
Thank you very much. Director Shelley.
Yeah, I want to give a belated shout out to the fentanyl overdose symposium that we held in January. It was a joint effort with Providence Health, Yamhill County Health, Newburgh Dundee Police Department, and the Newburgh Public Schools. And what we're trying to do, we have an internal committee that's trying to put together symposiums dealing with safety issues that we can all come together, and we're all concerned. And so look for some other ones where we're going to collaborate on other issues, perhaps like bullying, or just ways we can come together and keep our students safe. And happy Valentine's Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That symposium was really good. Learned a lot. Next up, Director Powell.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming, and I'm on the mural committee, and we had a couple of meetings so far last week and have a few more happening this week. So it's been fun to be a part of that, and again, hoping that project too will bring the community together, and it'll be just a fun thing for the students to be able to see and participate in as well. So looking forward to that.
Great. Thanks, Director Powell. And last up, Director DeHart.
Well, thank you, Chair Brown. I don't have a whole lot to say. You guys kind of talked about the focus group and the empathy interviews that went on. And I'll just echo that was a great opportunity, and there's talk of doing more of these in the future. My concern when we met last was that we actually do something with it. So I know Dr. Phillips is going to talk about this also, but I just want you guys to know there's nothing I hate more than spending time in a boardroom or a meeting for long hours at a time. And once you leave and adjourn the meeting, no action items have been given out. But I'll assure you that we're capturing all the lessons learned and putting action items, and we'll be assigning people and due dates to those based on the feedback that we got from those empathy interviews. So more to come on that, but just know that that's in work, and we're doing something there. I will say I always like to build up people, and I love our board, but I just really love the district staff, Dr. Phillips, Scott, Heather, Tabitha, Rose, our communication, doing a great job. Thank you for your support and all you do. I know it's long hours and a lot of work, but you always seem to make time when we have questions or suggestions or just want to talk about ways of improving the school district. And I'll just say that, the public doesn't get to see all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, but there's a lot of great conversations on how to improve academic performance. We know where we stand right now, and wonderful ideas and action items that I think will be revealed in the not too distant future on ways that we're going to increase the student and academic performance at all grade levels. And so that's for me, that's really exciting. Just the conversations and the talk about things moving forward. So, yeah.
Thanks, Director DeHart. Dr. Phillips.
I want to be done by 8, so 5 minutes. Okay, first of all, I wasn't here the second board meeting last month or January when it was Board Appreciation Month. So I wanted to say thank you all. I appreciate you all being the board and appreciate the support and the time that you all put in to being board members. And then I got some really neat stuff to share. Wrestling. Our high school wrestling team had districts last week in last Saturday in Sherwood. We took first with 489.5 points. And second place and third place combined didn't have that many points. So they really did well. They had 9 champions, 4 seconds, and 3 of those seconds wrestled one of our guys. So we were first, second, and 3 weights. 2 thirds and 2 fourths and 4 fifths. They're bringing probably 17 wrestlers to state, and that is on the 24th and 25th of this month. And they will be going for their 4th state title in a row. Swimming, last Saturday, they also had, or Friday, they had the district meet, and our boys were like regular season champions, and then they took second at the district swim meet. They have 3 boys relay teams going to state, and then also a few individuals. That's pretty neat. And then our girls took third at districts. They have 1 relay team going to state and also some individual girls going to state. And I think a really neat thing is Erin Fincher. She's the head coach of the boys and the girls, and she was named the boys coach of the year. Okay. So Erin does a great job. Moving on to cheer team, they won state again. That's the 3rd consecutive state title and the 9th title in the last 10 years. So I think even Neil Russo is envious of that record. So that's awesome. Basketball, our boys and girls still have a couple more weeks left in their season. Our drama theater club, they are performing Murder on the Orient Express. It was last week and it's also this Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They're selling tickets there. It's a great show. So since you didn't get to go on a date tonight, maybe do that Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. Jazz band qualified for state. And Drew Harris plays trumpet, and he qualified for the All Northwest Honor Band, which is a really big accomplishment. Okay, first student, I just wanted to thank them for kind of bailing us out a little bit this year with, well, just everybody knows, just bailing us out. And I look forward to working with them in the rest of the spring and starting to prepare and plan for a great summer, fall, and years to come. The board mentioned listening sessions, and I participated in those. And well, we had over 30 interviews with students, staff, and parents. We are planning another round because both sides of the listening session really enjoyed it. As Chairman DeHart said, we've learned a lot. And some of the things we've learned is no matter how much we communicate, we need to communicate more. And also people want us to focus more on the fundamentals of education, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And also with the staff turnover here in the district office, specifically our tech department, we have a department of 5 and 4 left. And so we got 4 to come, 4 new. And so 80% new staff there. A lot of people didn't know who they are, what they did. And then our teaching and learning department was totally revamped as well. And people didn't know who they are and what they did. So last week, we actually did a film with the tech department, introducing themselves and talking to the community about what they do. And we also did that with teaching and learning department. And so those videos will be coming out shortly. So we're trying to listen to what people are telling us, and the quick things, the quick hitters, we've already taken care of. The big projects are, of course, student achievement, and that's not an overnight process. But we are working on some exciting things that we'll present a little bit later.
Okay. And then I'm going to kind of read this. Lastly, there are some in the community that claim that the staff shortage here in Newburgh is unique to Newburgh and is solely the school board's or the administration's fault. And I just like to address that. Just 3 days ago, ABC News reported on this very topic. ABC's news says that over 75% of the states in the United States of America report staffing shortages. Some states are calling these shortages critical, a crisis, extremely difficult, and a big problem. This problem is not just in education, but it's in many different career paths. And it's definitely not just in Newburgh, not just in Oregon, but it's nationwide. Just today, I met with a local college recruiter who covers her territory is west of Portland all the way to the coast and then down to Tillamook. She covers approximately 30 districts. She's met with 20 some of those superintendents, like she met with me today. And she said, without exception, every superintendent she met with says they have staffing shortages and they're having a hard time filling the staffing positions. So I've never minimized the problems that we have here, and that, yes, our problems might be a little more acute because of the political unrest, but it is unfair and possibly dishonest to say that it's only us and it's this board. That's not fair. It's not honest. So I want to point that out. So it is our reality, as it is many other districts' reality, that we are having a hard time finding great quality people. But I don't think pointing fingers and laying blame is the solution. I think being positive and promoting our district is the solution. I think being grateful for the staff who stayed and the families that stayed, and also the families and the staff that came to fill the holes, are the solution. We need to focus on them and be grateful for them. Finger pointing, blaming, and keeping score is a bad recipe for any relationship. And I would rather not be a part of that. So I'm going to stay positive, maybe even toxic positive, but I will stay positive. So thank you.
Well, we're past 8 o'clock, but I'll catch you up. Just the last thing, our future agenda items are staff non-renewals on 2/28. The principal presentations, we're going to hear from Ashley Lee. Ashley Lee is a former Newburgh student, and she is now a principal in our school district. Isn't that cool? She is a ball of fire. She's good. And she married Thomas Lee. She was pretty smart. He was a really good baseball player and a great guy, great family. Nicole Love will be here from Edwards. She's awesome. So they'll be coming in to do those. That's good to hear about those schools. We'll give them plenty of time. Also, the Student-Based Health Center, Lise Holloman will be in for that. They're working really hard out there, and there's been a lot of effort put into that. And so we appreciate her. And I think that would be good if you want to hear what's going on at the Wellness Center, so you can hear it straight up, not around the corner. You need to come to that one. And then the bond update will be really good. Larry Hampton will be part of that, and I believe Casey will be here too. So that's going to be really good. If you haven't been out, please go to Newburgh High School. Go look at the new CT building out there. It'll blow you away. It really will. Dundee has not started yet, but a lot of the other projects are underway. But if you go to the high school, you'll be encouraged. It's going to be one of the best facilities in the state of Oregon for our kids. It's going to be phenomenal. You can see the Catalyst has, new buildings going on. There's stuff going on at almost every school. So go along and look at those. Future board meetings will be the policy committee on February 21st. They got that one work session on the 28th, and the regular session will be on March 14th. And I believe March 14th is our only board meeting for that month. That will be a regular meeting. We'll have public comments. So again, welcome first student. Any other comments from the board? Meeting's adjourned. Happy Valentine's Day.